All right, everyone, let's dive into a fun little 1 hour long painting using simple techniques that anybody could do at home. First, let's go over our supplies and then we'll jump right into the painting. This is my painting surface. Any size will do for you guys. Don't go too big because then the bigger the size, the longer it's going to take to paint. But it is black because black covers better than white, and I have reused this a lot of times. This is my practice board to show different techniques that you can do. So I painted it black to cover up the previous paintings, but also it's nice because you don't have to fight the white, so there's no white that's going to be showing through where we don't want it. It'll be black. It'll be much harder to see. It works great. I suggest that you try painting on a black surface. It's great. We got our colors. I don't know exactly what we're going to be using today, but this is what we have. We've got white and teal, phthalo blue, primary cyan. I don't actually use this much and don't need it. We'll put that away. Got purple, red, pink, yellow, orange. This is a really great violet color here that's sort of half red, half purple. I really like it. We got a pencil. And then I've got some brushes over here. So you're going to need a palette knife, something flat like this. This is called a scraper palette knife. If you don't have one, you could use like a business card and cut about a 1-inch length of it right there. That's fine. This is an amazing brush. This is a blush brush. I'm just reusing, upcycling my old makeup brush. It works great. If you don't have one of these, they're pretty inexpensive. They're definitely cheaper than paint brushes. We've got our fan brush, 1/2 inch flat, and then these two we may or may not use. So I've got a couple of rounds. I've got a small one for details and a slightly bigger one. So that's pretty much it. We've got a palette. You can use whatever you want. I like using glass, paper towel, cup of water, and an empty solo cup. Let's go ahead and mark out where we want that horizon line. I'm going to go about halfway, I think. So yeah, let's go halfway. We're going to go 6 inches. I'm just going to put a little dot, 3 times on the right, 3 times on the left, just to kind of mark where my horizon line is going to go so that my horizon line isn't dropping too badly to one side. That's fine. And then I'm going to get a flat edge, which I should have mentioned before, but any flat edge will do. And then I'm just going to try to connect those like so. And draw my line across. At least this way it won't be too crooked. And then if you want, you can go ahead and find the center. So yeah, 6 and then 16, so 8 inches. It's about there. So that's roughly the center. And I'll bring that line up actually. There. Also, the nice thing about this is that the black helps to cover up the pencil. Sometimes if you use pencil on a white surface, the pencil shows through. But yeah, I've noticed it actually covers it better when you're painting on black. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to get my paints out. I think I'm going to start with the blues and white. I'm going to use the teal, titanium white, and phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is my favorite color. Just because it can be really dark, or you can add a little white and it brightens up, or it can get lighter with even more white. It just has really nice color to it. Teal is fun. This is the first time I'm actually working with pre-made teal, so I don't have to mix it, which is great. Get the white out. What we're going to do is, with any landscape painting, we start from the back and work our way forward. And also, we kind of start from the top and work our way down. That's kind of how it works. So we're going to be doing the sky first. I'm going to put that sky in and then the moon. Okay, and so what I'm going to do first is, with the cup, I'm going to place my moon just so I know where it goes. I'm going to take a little brush, a little water, not a lot of paint, just a little bit, and I'm going to paint the rim of the cup just so I know where that moon is going. And then I'm going to press that down onto the surface and I will have a perfect circle for my moon. So here's the middle, go about here and just drop, push, give it a little bit of a twirl, And you have your perfect circle. Now I can do the background. I'm going to take this fun blush brush. I'm going to start mixing in my color. So I'm going to start with light and work my way out to darkest, so it looks like it's kind of glowing. So I'm taking that teal and using the small fluffy side of this brush, I'm going to start painting in circles like this. In circles, because we want it to look like it's glowing, right? So this is just pure teal, but see how I'm not painting it solid, right? I'm letting some of that blackness show through. We're going to layer in our colors. So I'm going to go about halfway with that pure teal, just to figure out how far I want that glow to go. And then I'm going to start adding in a little white to the teal. Let's go back to the center of that moon. I'm sorry, closer to the moon. And I'm going to put this really pale teal color around it, using a circular motion like this. And then we can go a little darker, more teal, and kind of fill in the gaps here of the black, just like this. Okay, you could add a little bit of water, not too much. We don't want it dripping, it's not watercolors. Go back in with more white, lighten it up just a little bit more. There we go. And keep going. Sort of lightening it up right there. That's perfect on that side. Let's finish the left side. And now let's start getting darker again. See how it looks like it's almost glowing already? And it's okay if you want to cross this line down here. We're going to paint over it. Totally fine. I just don't want to lose all of it. Don't want to lose the sides for sure, because as long as these two are the same and I can find them, I can find the center, match them up, and that way I know I didn't go too crooked. Okay, now we can start making it a little bit darker. I'm going to start adding a touch of phthalo into my teal color. Not a lot, just a little. You see the difference there? Okay, and we're just lightly brushing that in, blending it. If you're having problems blending, add a little bit of water. Okay, and lightly use light strokes to try to smooth out your lines to blend them together. You don't have to put a lot of paint on there, and you don't have to press very hard. Okay, now we can go a little bit more on this side, and then we can go a little bit darker. So I'm adding a little bit more phthalo to that teal. See how we're getting darker, and then I'm going over that line to soften it just a little. You do have to be quick with acrylics. They dry quite fast. You can buy something called retarder, which changes the viscosity of the paint and allows it to smooth out a little easier and to dry slower, and that's really, really nice. If you want to try that, it's only like, I don't know, 10 or 15 bucks. I haven't bought it in a really long time, but it's fun to play around with. And then that way you can kind of get the feel for maybe what oils might feel like. You want to try getting into oils. Okay, so I'm going even darker and darker and darker, adding more and more phthalo. There we go. Now look at this. Lighten that up in there. Blend it together. And you can use this brush, the bigger side of your blush brush, to do circular motions and blend it out even more if you would like. I'm not really going to bother with that right now, because I actually like this sort of a slightly streaky look. For the most part, it's pretty well blended, but there is some streaks in here I want to leave because I think it looks pretty. If you don't like those streaks, remove them. Now I'm going straight into that phthalo, and see how dark it is? And blending that in. Just like this, mostly in the corners. Mostly. And then and then blending it down. Now I want to watch Aliens. Okay, and then do this corner and blend it down. Okay, so next we're going to put the stars in, and that's super easy to do. We're just going to splatter them in. Make sure that when you are done with the brush, you clean it and set it aside. Don't leave it in a cup of water because it will ruin the brush. The bristles act like a straw. It sucks up the water into the wooden handle or plastic handle, whatever. If it's wooden, it will swell and it will break, and then your brush will be useless. So do not leave your brush in your cup of water ever. Clean it thoroughly, wipe it, set it aside. Okay, for later, like that. That's fine. A little bit of pigment's fine. Oh, see? Should have cleaned that one better. Okay, we don't want it to dry out either. Okay, let's splatter. So I want to keep my circle. Well, I was going to say we could protect it with the cup, but you know what? We haven't even painted the moon yet, so that's fine. Let's just go ahead and splatter. So you need 2 brushes. You need any brush that can hold a good amount of paint, and then any other brush, it doesn't even matter because you're just going to hold it with your non-dominant hand still, and you're going to take your dominant hand, you're going to tap it, and it's going to splatter, and it's going to be fantastic. So I think I'm actually going to switch to a watercolor brush because the bristles are bigger, it holds more paint. I'll get a better splatter, so something like this. It's softer. And I'm going to take lots of water into my white paint. Now you can change the color of your stars. You could do any color you want. I'm going to do white. And I'm getting it really, really liquidy, almost like ink, I guess as Bob Ross would say. So, good amount. Okay, it's loaded. I'm going to take any random brush. I'm going to hold it still with my non-dominant hand, and I'm going to tap, and we're going to get a beautiful star system in our sky. Super easy. And you can always go back in and add bigger stars if you want. But right about now, and we're done. So that was super easy. Clean off your brush, set it aside. Let's go ahead and get started with that moon. I'm going to go in with pure white. May as well just use this white that I have over here and get the first layer in. We're going to use white and a little bit of blue in our moon. I'm going to go back in and add some darkness and then some highlights. So with most any paintings, I work in 3s. Mountains have a base color, highlight color, and shadow color. This moon's going to have a base color, highlight color, and shadow color. Don't be afraid to rotate your canvas if you have to get a good angle on your painting here to get that nice clean edge. If it's not clean, it doesn't matter because we can blend it out, make it have more of a glow. Not a big deal if you get it a little crooked. Not a big deal. Acrylics dry in a few minutes. You can paint right over them. Just like that. All right. Yep, a little wonky. That's okay. That's okay. Because we can go ahead and take our brush. This guy, remember the one that we used for this guy? And while it's still a little wet, we can create a glow. So I'm going to make sure that it's clean. It's okay if it has a little bit of blue on it, not a problem, but you want to make sure that you dry it off really, really well. We don't want a lot of water. Okay, and I'm just going to take it and use gentle circular motions around the moon. And see, it's pulling up the paint right there. It's because it was too wet. So I'm going to go back in with paint now and try to cover that up a little. So you can end up pulling your acrylics off your canvas if it's not thoroughly dry, and then you add wet paint to it. It brings up that first layer. So if that's happening to you, you need to let it dry. Okay, and then you can go back in with more paint after it's dry. But I'm just going to go ahead and start gently brushing out some white. Following the circle, just a little here and there to make it look like it's glowing even more. I'm sure you could probably hear my husband in the background. Just ignore him. I do. Usually I don't hear anything when I'm painting. I zone out completely and nobody can hear me. Okay, clean off your brush, set it aside. We are going to finish this moon by adding in shadows. I need a picture of the moon so I can look at. So I know what the moon actually looks like. It's daytime right now, so I can't see it. So let's find a picture of the moon just so it looks a little bit more realistic. I definitely suggest working from photographs whenever you can, if you can't look at it in real life. That way it looks better. So, images, moon. Any image will do. The first image that opens on my computer would be great. Okay, got one. Looks like the moon to me. Taking any smallish brush, right? So this size would be good. If you don't have this brush, you can use a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch, a little flat or a round. It doesn't matter. And I'm gonna go in with a little bit of teal, not too much. And we're gonna find the dark areas of the moon and just sort of dab those in at random. The general place that they would go, start dabbing in the darkness. Up here, comes down, it goes around, a little circle area. This is all dark. If you notice that it looks the same pattern, rotate your brush, do it again, change the pattern of your paint that's being put on there from your bristles. And let's see, it goes down, it goes up, little circle here, kind of a weird shape there, comes down a little. There's a dot back in there, but can't quite get it. So just something like this, you know, little darkness in there, not so much in here. We'll tap a little bit anyways, right? The moon is never just a solid color. If your moon is just one solid color in your painting, it's going to look flat. You need to give it a little bit of dimension. So shadows and highlights. A little in here. And then we can go in with a lighter teal color and kind of dab. We're just sort of dabbing, right? Dabbing with the tip of our brush. Dab, 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 dab. The screen's getting dark. There we go. And dab it in here. Dab it a little in here. Not a lot. Get most of the white out. You want at least 2 colors of teal if you're using teal or whatever color you're using. You know, some of the white's still showing through, and that's great. But we want some color in there. Dab, dab. And then you can just brush some of those strokes out if you'd like. Very gently, blending. Just like that. Okay, now we're gonna add those highlights. Clean off your brush, set it aside. Clean off your brush, set it aside. Okay, we need a little brush now to work on the details. This one might work, we'll try it. Little round brush, but it's firm. I suggest something maybe not quite as firm, but we're gonna try it anyway. So I'm gonna put some white on my brush and I'm gonna find the craters and dab those in. So there's a crater here. So it's light in the middle, has a darker ring. So I'm gonna actually leave that ring alone. So not touch anything. And then I'm gonna actually dab in the highlights with the brush like this. And then that ring kind of around the crater kind of starts to form because I'm adding highlights around it. So those midtones that were under it are being left alone, and that's creating that ring. This comes out like this, sort of. Just dabbing. I don't really want to swipe because if you swipe it, it will look not really like the moon. So we are dabbing a little. Just dabbing here and there. Okay, don't know if you can see that very well on the camera, but there it is. I'm gonna go back in with the white on my brush and add some more. So there's like a little crater thing there and some other dots here. The moon actually has a lot of characters. Very, very pretty. Dot over here and over here. And there's some brightness around this. So just look for the areas that need some brightness and dab those in. Don't worry about their exact shape. It doesn't matter. If you try to paint an exact shape, it just won't look right. You just want to look for the change in value. So dark to light, and just sort of dab it in. Okay, change in value, dab it in. Just circle over here. Just dab it in. There's some lightness in here. Okay, we're almost done with the moon. I'm going to brighten it up one more time with my fluffy blush brush. So make sure my brush, say that 20 times, is clean and dry. Remember, I had too much water on it and it pulled up the paint that was on the canvas. We don't want that. So really try to make it dry. And then I'm just going to go in with a little bit of white, not a lot, just see on the tip, and gently brush that around one more time. Just very gently to make it look like it's glowing. And just like that, we have a beautiful moon. And then we can work on our mountains. Okay. All right. And I can see a little bit of my canvas coming through there. So I need to try to match that color somehow. It's a very, very pale teal. So mostly white and a little bit of teal. Oh, see, that was too much white. More teal. And less paint. Try to blend that out. And I'll just go out a little bit more. Just to kind of blend it together. I know I've lost a few stars doing that, but I personally could see the black underneath in that area because the paint, again, was a little too wet, didn't dry thoroughly, and then I added some more paint and blended too much, and it brought up the paint. So just kind of be mindful. Sometimes you have to let things dry for a couple minutes before you can touch them. Okay, well, that looks better. It's not perfect, but that's okay. Okay, that's okay. Because we are going to add some trees in front of it, and I'll hide anything we don't like with the tree. Let's do those mountains. I've got my flat scraper palette knife, and then I'm going to put the base color in, then the highlights and the shadows, or shadows and highlights. It doesn't matter which way you go, but you need a base color. My base color is going to be pure phthalo blue, and I'm just going to come in and scrape in some mountains, just like Bob Ross would, right? Make a peak there, scrape that down. Again, you don't have to make it look perfect because we're adding in highlights and shadows, and then other things are going to go in front of it, so it's not a big deal. Okay, I love painting because you can change things all the time. You can make your own worlds and make them look however you want them to, and there's really no wrong way of doing it. Okay. There. Beautiful. Okay, so now that you got this darkness in, put a little bit more there. You need to make a highlight color and a shadow color. Shadow color is going to be slightly brighter than the base color. I'm going to take that phthalo blue and maybe just add a touch of teal into it to make it slightly brighter. See how that looks. Something like that. Can you see that? It's a nice blue color. My husband's having fun today in the office playing with his friends. Okay, shadows. The center of the painting has the moon, which is a light source, so the light source is going to go out like this. So shadows are going to be on right sides. Light sources are going to be on, well, left side here, right side there. You know what I mean, right? So shadow here-ish, and then highlights sort of wherever the light would come, it's hitting it. So left side of the mountain here, but right side of this mountain. I don't know if I explained that very well, but whatever. Okay, so I'm going to start holding my brush very gently at almost a parallel angle. I'm going to push down slightly and drag. Almost no weight to it, just drag it out. And that's going to give us the illusion of shadows like that. And we want that break in the paint a little. Actually, you know, I think I'm going to curve it this way. I think that looked better. And drag it down. There you go. That's a nice, it's got a nice shape to it. Okay. A little paint on the palette knife again. I don't know if you can see, you can't see that over there. So I've got my glass surface, or my paint palette surface, and I've spread out the paint nice and flat. It's just like Bob Ross, really. And then I'm going to scrape, just scrape my palette knife slight angle against it, and it puts a nice little roll of paint there. Let's go ahead and do this side. So I'm going to find my peak right there. The brush is in the way. And gently drag it out. Just hold this up so you can see. Can you see? Hopefully. Okay, find my peak. I'm just going to find my peak and the ridge and just drag it out. Okay. Just like that. Don't overthink it. You can always fix it later if you don't like it, you know? Gently scrape and drag. That's all we're doing. The more breakage in your paint, the better. Okay, there's some highlights there. I'm sorry, shadows there. I think there's going to be a little bit of shadow in here. Just a little, maybe some right here. Comes down, something like that. Okay, you can have some shadows scattered about in other places. That's fine. Something like that. Okay, now for the highlights, I'm not going to use just pure white. I'm just going to make a really, really lighter version of the color that I did. So I'm adding white into that color. A lot of white into that color. Same thing. A little bit on the edge, not a lot. And I'm going to find the areas that I want highlighted right here. Just sort of mark them out first. Okay, and then drag. Okay, a little right there. Some here, definitely. It's right underneath the moon. Just drag it out a little, maybe a little in here, you know, something's going on there. Lightness. Do it again over here. Sort of marking out the edge of my mountain. Dragging it down like this. Make this come out, make this more defined right here. I know I'm talking a little quiet. Sorry, it is actually quite hard to talk and teach art and paint art all at the same time. Took me a while to get the hang of it, and sometimes I forget that I'm teaching while I'm making these videos. There, okay? You can add a few more random spots if you want. That's fine. Wherever you want, right? Don't overthink. Okay, so next we can either make land or water or both. What are you guys feeling like? A river? You want to do a river or do you want to do water? I don't know. Let's see what happens. We're going to work with the fan brush though, that's for sure. I'm going to get it wet. Dab off some of the extra water because we don't want it dripping. We just want it moist. And I'm going to swipe in a lighter color. Probably do that same highlight color, actually. I need a little bit more water. Same highlight color. You can see what this is going to turn into. I don't have a plan, you know. This is just, it's doing its own thing. We could do land, you know, or we could do water. We'll just see what happens. Kind of looks maybe like a river. Do you guys want to do a river now? We can do that. Okay, so I figured out what this is going to be. It's going to be river, and then it'll have some trees in there too. So this is our river. It's light. Now we need to add the darkness into it. I'm just taking my fan brush and swiping left to right with it horizontally, not vertically, right? This way, swipe. And I'm going to swipe some land mass in there and figure out where the land's going in a slightly darker color. Something like that. We'll shrink the river in just a little bit. Okay. Then I'm going to go in with more of that highlight color now and really define my river. So swiping it a little like this. Pretend that your brush is actually creating the river. Okay. Sort of, it's weird saying this, but you're sort of playing a god here in your painting. You're creating your world. And so you're creating this river by painting it in with your brush. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of white to really brighten it up just in some areas. Just lightly touching. Okay. Make it a little bigger over here. Okay, so now we need to add some more land. It's going to be light teal color, and I'm just going to swipe in some more land. We just need to know where the land's at, right? So let's give it a little bit of a hill. We just need to put that base color in. Remember, base color, highlights, and shadows is really all you need for anything. You get those in and you're good. So we're putting the base color now of the land, just like this. Okay, base color. We're going to add shadows and stuff over it. So again, don't overthink it. It doesn't really matter at this point. Okay, you just want to cover it up. You want to find its location, right? That's what we're doing. We're finding the location, and the general shape and size, and then cover it up. Okay, get some color in there. Don't worry, it'll look good when we are done. There is a cat right next to me, so hopefully he doesn't walk in the paint. I may have to pause this. May have to start bleeping some things out too, because the hubby is cursing pretty loudly right now with his friends. Okay, there's our land. Now we're going to take our palette knife with some new white, because I've used all of it. And you know that technique that we use for the mountains? We're basically going to do that again. This will be a snowy scene. So I'm going to scrape out my white. I'm just going to start dragging it to add some highlights. That's not enough paint. Let's try this. There we go. And we're just going to start dragging it out. We're adding in texture. We're adding in highlights. Okay. We can add in some hills if you want. Maybe there's a hill here. Comes down like this. And maybe we can add some more hills and things back here. And I'm just scraping in that white to give it some color and texture. Color and texture. Maybe some more here. Here. Okay, color and texture. Just having fun. Just having fun. You know, I tell my husband that I'm painting and I'm filming, and yet he still curses like a sailor. Okay, so clean off your tool that you just used. And if you'd like, you can take this little brush again, or the bigger brush, either one, and you can smooth out some of the areas if you don't like them. Okay, just a little. I still want to leave some of the texture there, but if you don't like the harshness of some of it, go ahead and soften it just a little. You can add a little water to do that. Just blend it out. See how there's still highlights, there's still shadow. There's still things going on here. We're just softening the look a little. Okay. So, we need to work on the water again. Okay. We need to add a little bit of depth to the water, so highlights and shadows essentially, because that's how it works. Highlights and shadows, highlights and shadows. I don't think my husband could get any louder if he actually tried. Okay, I'm going in with my little liner brush and my pure blue. And I'm going to add just a few ripples and things in the water, because it's really light and I need to add some darkness because it's too light. Just a little here and there, a little water to make it flow better. I'm being very loose, very loose. See how loose I am? Barely touching and just sort of making some scribbles in my water. Okay. Water. It's water. Now you can go back in with a little highlight. We're going to use that flat scraper palette knife, but we're using the smaller side here. Same technique we did with the mountains and the hills. We're going to get a little bit of paint right there, and we're going to scrape that in to make it look like the light's sort of glistening on our water. Just being gentle with it, scraping it across, just like this. Okay, that's basically it. You can add some more details and stuff if you want. I'm just showing you some really simple techniques. Okay, I'm gonna need more dark blue because I am out. We're gonna start adding in some plants and things. I think we should do trees first, I think. and then bushes and stuff. I'm gonna take, what kind of trees are we gonna do today, guys? Pine trees? I don't know. We're gonna put a tree in here though, I think. I just need to know what kind of tree we're gonna do, and I can figure it out. What I'm gonna use. Again, I had no plan for this. Okay, liner brush, round brush, whatever. I'm gonna drop a tree in using the pure phthalo blue. I'm just gonna start kind of up here, and since I don't really like that area, I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure my tree goes right there, and it'll have another trunk or another branch right there that meets at the trunk, and maybe like this, like this. You can still add some leaves to your tree, because just because there's snow on the ground doesn't necessarily mean there's no leaves on the tree, because it has snowed here in spring where I live, and it's really made a mess of things and confused the trees, and I didn't even get apples that year because of it. But you know what, it does happen. Plus, it's your world. Maybe in this world it snows, but all trees have leaves on them always. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little bit of white. I'm going to add a little bit of highlight to my tree, just to kind of make it stand out against that mountain. Anytime something gets lost in your painting, it means that the colors are too similar or the values are too similar. So you have to separate it with either light or dark. So we're separating it with the light. See? And now you can kind of see what's going on. Okay, and then we're going to do that one more time over here. I'm going to load up my brush with the pure blue again, and I'm going to, boo, it's doing its thing right there. This is a very crooked tree. He's got more character than the other guy. He's older and wiser. Okay, and then we're going to add a little bit of white. Just for some highlights, and also again it helps to find the tree against all this blue. And then we're going to go in with our blush brush and dab in some leaves. Clean off our brush, get this bad boy right here. Make sure it's clean. I cleaned it, yeah. Going back in with my pure blue. I'm not using black. Black is really harsh. I use it sometimes because, well, I like it and I kind of like the harsh contrast. But this painting's just pretty much two blues and a white. It's, you know, kind of a monochromatic painting here. So I'm just going to dab, just wherever I think there needs to be some leaves. And I am definitely covering up some of my moon. That helps to push back that moon. Okay, we want to push it way in the background because it's in the sky. It's super far away, but it's very big. It's a super blue moon. Super blue moon. Do you guys see the super blue moon? I think I went to bed early. So, but you know, once you see one, you see them all, right? I've seen one, what was it, 23 years ago or something? I'm good. I'm good. We don't need to keep seeing the blue ones. I'm good. Okay. Dab, 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 dab. Really wish I had music. I like listening to music when I paint, but unfortunately, copyright prohibits us from using music in our videos on YouTube, which is a bummer. And I'm gonna add some highlights onto these bushy little things too. I don't know what kind of tree this is. You know, I'm just sort of doing whatever, and that's fine. Let's fill it up a little bit more. We'll fill it up a little bit more.
What do you mean? Oh, wait. Just hit C to look around.
Dab, dab, dab. Dab, dab, dab. That's good. Yep, it kind of almost looks like, I don't know, some type of a maple. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But again, it doesn't have to. It's your world. It's your painting. Who cares? Okay, push that moon back. Bring that out.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Back in the blue. Dab, dab, dab. So any place you don't like on your painting, go ahead and put a tree or leaves over it. Or we're going to do bushes too, and some other things, twigs and sticks and whatever you want. Just hide it, okay? Just hide it. How big should I make my tree? I don't know. I should stop soon though, before it eats up the whole painting, right? We don't want our tree to eat up the whole painting. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of white into that phthalo blue on the same brush, and I'm just going to dab that in wherever the light's going to be hitting on my tree or wherever is lost. So see here, this was lost. That got lost. This got lost. Dab, dab. Bring it forward. It's just an easy little trick. You know, it's getting lost in the sky, so we're going to brighten it there. Brighten it here. Just so you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, that is a tree. That's not the sky. That's not the moon. I know what she's doing. Okay, a little bit of white there, and definitely right here because it got lost all in there, and right here. And that's really bright, but that's okay right in there. See, it's coming together. It's coming together. Oh, my kitty cat's snoring. He fell asleep and now he's snoring. He's always snored. It's normal. I'm gonna come in with a little bit more white and add some super highlights now. So we had our base color, and then we have highlights, and now we're doing the super highlights. So really that initial base color wasn't a base color, that was just the mid-tone, since we're adding in a lighter value now. But there's three tones in the trees, 3 tones in the moon, in the mountain. The land technically still does because some of the black's showing through, but we're going to add another value to it anyway. So we're going to add darkness to it for bushes and twigs and stuff. So dab, dab, dab. We're almost done too. We are almost done. Okay. We'll here. Find this tree again. Like that. Okay, clean off your brush. Let's add some bushes and other random miscellaneous things, and then we're almost done. So you can use a liner brush for this. You can go straight into that pure blue or whatever darkness you're using. Maybe you're using black, because black speaks to you, and that's totally fine. I like black, like I said. It is harsh, but it is nice. Okay, and you can take this little liner brush and start adding in some streaks up, like grass, like this. This is one way to do it. So I'm starting at the base of whatever this is, the grass, and pushing up. Okay, just here and there. Make them curve, make them go in random directions. You know, that's one way of doing it. Clusters here and there, right? There's little clusters back in here. Things are sprouting through. Maybe this is the end of winter. Right? It's early spring, but it snowed because, you know, I don't know, global warming. Maybe this is just a different planet and it's what happens. Okay, wherever you want. That's one way of doing it. Clean off your brush. You can use the fan brush here. Same thing, load up the fan brush, and we're going to be swiping. It's definitely a softer look. See the difference there? So swiping up. You can also push up. I haven't done this in a while, but you start at the base and push up, and you get a cluster. Get a nice cluster, or you have like a bigger bush. Right? And do that. So you can swipe, or you can push up for more details and stuff. Okay. I almost want to add more trees on each side, but in black. What do you think? Should we do it? How long have I been filming? So this is going to be an hour-long video. Ooh, 49 minutes. We have 10 minutes. Okay. Well, you can also do the same technique I just showed you with white. If your painting's not already too white. See that? Same technique, but now it's in white. The more details you add to your painting, I think the better. It can hide mistakes. It can make things look more natural. Whatever you want. Okay. Another way of making, you know, plant life or whatever you want to do here. Take that blush brush and load it up. And we're going to dab. We're going to dab a bush. Right there. You can dab a bush right here. Just turn this into a big bush. Yeah, turn that into a big... I didn't like it so much anyway. So there. And this can be a big bush. There. And that could be a bush thing. It can be a real bushy painting. Sometimes paintings are bushy, you know. Bush, 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 bush. Okay, if you guys want to push this way back, we have like 10 minutes left in my video of how to make a painting in an hour. Let's go ahead and get the black out. I need to find black really quick here. I'll use this black. We're going to put another tree right in front. Grab our liner brush again. Make sure it's not too wet. Load it up with black paint. And let's drop a giant tree in right here. Maybe one right here too. You know? And it's gonna come out like this. Like this. I'm just trying to find those branches. Okay. Fill in that trunk. I like blue. It might be my favorite color, at least when it comes to painting. I have lots of favorite colors. Depends on what the thing is, right? But when I do paintings, I use a lot of blue. And I do a lot of monochromatic blue paintings. Let's make this one twisted. He's a twisted guy. So if you ever see my artwork, which is on display, there's a lot of blue. All right, it's a weird tree, but you know what? It's my tree. I don't care. Okay, so now we just need to add just a few dabs of leaves and stuff. to make this really come forward. And then we're essentially done. Because this is so close to the viewer, it is a silhouette. I'm not going to really bother with highlights on this guy right here. He's just going to be black, and that will help to really push back everything else in the painting. So anywhere you didn't like your trunk or your branch, just dab it. Just dab some leaves. Dab some things over it. I mean, I'm covering up some stuff I do like, but that's okay. Sometimes you have to sacrifice places in your art in order to succeed, right? My doggy agrees. Sometimes I would make sacrifices when I played chess so that I could win. Same concept. All right, so just finishing this tree up here. But there you go. That is how you make a painting in an hour using various techniques. I've shown you how to use a solo cup to make a perfect circle, how to paint on a black surface, how to use a blush brush, a flat scraper palette knife, basic techniques to make water, hills, mountains, stars. So now you should be able to make any kind of landscape you want using these techniques and not limiting yourself to 1 hour. And then of course we can also add some more blackness down below, like branches and stuff, to bring it forward. So thank you all for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Give it a thumbs up and like if you liked it. I do try to make videos. I was doing them every week, but then I got super busy this last summer. I was in Chalk Art Festival. I did a mural. I made a bunch of artwork for an art hotel at the Oregon coast called the Starry Night Inn. They are super cool. If you love art or the beach and bohemian vibes and music, that is the place to go to, place to stay. It's a Starry Night Inn. So a bunch of my art is over there. It's on display, but it's also for sale. And I do not overmark my paintings. I mean, not always. Sometimes they're a little bit much, but for the most part, they are very affordable. So thank you all for joining me today on how to make a 1 hour painting. And hopefully I will see you again next week. Bye.